keep finding ways that we're helping partners, finding either, balance in their life or focus or purpose.
Practices that are going to help improve your project management skills or your finances.
We're here to talk about setting long-term goals and then how to achieve them.
Increasing your quality, therefore becoming the best place in town to work.
Welcome to Academy Live. Happy Halloween, everyone. How lucky are we that the show fell on October 31st? Since it's the most beautiful time of the year, we decided to get into the holiday spirit and get all dressed up, as you can tell. I'll tell you a little bit more about my costume when I'm joined with Rex and Chris and our special guest, Matt Lee, in a little bit, because we went with a theme that you will soon find out about. It's also Throwback Tuesday. So here is a picture of me in college. You can see me in my dorm room. I've carved a pumpkin. I went to the University of Miami, the U. So that's why you can see the pumpkin there. It's got the U on it. And then you can also see a picture of me last year as Cruella de Vil. I went to a Lizzo concert last year. So that's me at the concert, having a great time. I've always been a big fan of Halloween, tons of fun. And so we've had a really great October keeping you informed about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And on today's Halloween crossover event, we have Pax8's cyber guru, Matt Lee, his first appearance on Academy Live, and we're just so grateful to have him with us. We're very excited to pick Matt's brain today, and so we're going to kick things off with a scary video to get us all in the mood.
Government officials insist that this an isolated incident. We will continue to keep you informed as this story unfolds.
Is there anything that you really want partners to know or listeners of the show to know about cybersecurity?
Please stay tuned for more information.
Biggest thing is get started now. We're running out of time. Lots of increasing activity.
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test.
It's never too late to start down this journey of cybersecurity.
Everybody knows, hey, I might get hacked. But what they're often not aware of is that some threat actors will actually drive direct cost to them.
Stay tuned for further instructions.
If you work somewhere where you have cybersecurity teams or you have an MSP that does your cybersecurity, this is the month to thank.
This is not a test.
The bad guys are becoming more sophisticated. You cannot overtrain your employees about security.
Now, the Pax8 Studios team can always put together a great video. It's so much fun. But now I want to bring on the rest of my colleagues and tell you a little bit about who we are. So as you can see from my costume today, I am Bessie the Bandit. I am a cyber criminal. I can steal your identity. I'm a ransomware attacker, and I'm committing fraud, whenever I can. Let's bring on Chris. This is what happens when you get caught. Criminal Chris, what do you have to say for yourself?
It's not as much fun in the cooler, the clink, the hooskow, the pen. I tell you what, it's always better on the outside.
Oh, Chris, well, we're glad to have you on the show. Now, how do people like Chris and I get caught? There is computer crime units, aka the cops, the long arm of the law. Let's bring on Matt Lee.
I wish I was candid and honest in saying that it often turns into an arrest every time, but it just doesn't, right? And Bessie, unfortunately, in her nefarious ways, does get away with it for quite a long time. And the Chris Kaisers of the world are typically going to be activists and people inside the United States that are being incarcerated in that way. So, but I'm glad to be here, not to be Debbie Downer. And also it's going to be really interesting being interviewed by the criminals as the good guy that I am. So I'm stoked to be here. Thank y'all. I'll turn off the lights and lower everybody's terror of being pulled over on the way home for this show here.
It's really, it feels so hard, Matt. In my role, I wanted to boo you coming on, but I just can't. I'm rooting for you.
Oh, whatever. Oh, pshaw.
Yeah, no. In real life, it's just not my role today. But really excited to talk to you today. Glad to have you on the show, Matt.
Yeah, and I'll tell y'all, one of the favorite things is doing Academy work. So thank y'all for having me on. Sorry about that. I didn't get my speaking order there, Bessie. I'll get it back to you now.
All right, Bessie, back to you.
No, all good. Well, we have one person missing. You may notice Rex Frank. We heard last second that he will not be on the show today. Let's bring him on. I think we have instead Mattlee's doppelganger. Let's bring on Halloween Mattlee.
Man, that's a beautiful storyline there, Matt.
Pax8 is trying to be as efficacious as we can, helping protect our partners as we got my yellow water bottle. Pax8 Studios.
Oh yeah. I see. Hey, you're on dangerous territory right there with that water bottle behavior.
I was in a meeting. I was in a meeting and somebody mentioned that they had a hard time finding their badge.
The other
day.
It was me. Yeah, people have found it funny because I steal so many badges with my friends like Jason Slagle and everyone that they've been stealing my badges. I do not have a Pax8 badge up on my wall of badges this year. They've been that successful. It's unfortunate. So I know where you live. That's all right. I have these fancy police computers over here. We'll figure it out.
Kristen saw me take this, and she tried to get it from me. I was like, "Oh no, I got a plan for this."
For a reason, I got a plan. You even put the gray hairs in the beard, bro.
I did.
You've done a good job in this. This is very simulative. I think.
We started as a rabbi costume.
Oh, I'm dying. Oh, that's so good. Kyle Hanslevin did that to me one time. He put on in the middle of Hackett. He came back with a beard and his kid's bald cap from a costume or something. It was hilarious. It's been the background for Zoom for years. Sorry, Bessie.
I love it.
No, I love that story. That's so much fun, and now everyone knows that it's a game, so that they might be on the lookout for you and your badges, Mattlee. So watch out.
Touche.
Well, we have a fun game to kick off our Halloween episode. So let's cue the lights and let's take a look at the Halloween game we're gonna play. Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Wow.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Got all black and whitey.
I know. Let's
Old-timey.
take a look. We've got 5 quick questions on Halloween. So let's take a look. What's your go-to Halloween candy? Starting with Mattlee.
Oh man, I'd probably say Reese's peanut butter cups. Those are super dope. That's my fave.
Rex or Halloween Mattlee?
Well, this is my favorite one right here, which does include Reese's peanut butter cups. So good stuff. We got the Twix bar, but also my kids know that when we go out trick-or-treating that there is a dad tax. I call it the Smartie tax. Yeah, Dad collects all the Smarties.
That's fair.
Well,
Rex is doing his OSINT homework here and having the correct ones to steal from me, it seems.
Mine was always a Butterfinger, and I loved back in the day when it was Bart Simpson, nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger. But then, as a standby, I'll go with the Snickers because you're not you when you're hungry. And if anybody remembers Betty White, You guys remember the Abe Pagoda, the Betty
yeah.
White, commercials playing football? You're not you when you're hungry. Love those. All right, what about you, Bessie?
Golden.
Mine are definitely also Reese's peanut butter cups, but I would say my backup is probably the Babe Ruth bar. Those are delicious. I mean, peanut butter and chocolate, peanuts and chocolate, can't go wrong. Let's see the next question. Do you have any fond Halloween memories from your childhood? Let's start with you, Halloween Mattlee.
Oh,
I'm trying to think.
I think I'm going to go.
Oh,
no, it's Halloween Mattlee. That's me.
I heard Mattlee. I just got triggered to go forward. That's on me. Damn real Mattlee.
I have the badge on. I have my identity. So, anyway, I was going to go with the kind of that first time the parents let you go and you take the pillowcase and you just hit every neighborhood and fill that sucker up. Kind of that first time. And then you get back, you're like, I'm not going to eat any of this.
Will the real Mattlee please stand up?
Yeah.
I would just say ditto. Like, totally awesome when you got to go off with all your friends. And, I actually got to do that pretty early in life. But I'll tell you, other than you, I came back and ate every damn piece of that candy. It was up in the closet until it was pretty solid, right? You know what I mean? Like, it was not good candy at that point. So, I definitely remember it. But, yeah, that was fuel source for Fat Mattlee for a long time, for sure.
I remember, I think I was in middle school. My favorite costume was I got a big box and I made a Rubik's Cube. So I felt pretty, that gives you a little bit of the time frame reference as well. But yeah, I spent Halloween as a Rubik's Cube, which made it very difficult to eat. Arms in a box,
I don't think you had set yourself up for success there. Somebody could have tried to spin you. Like, that would have been really uncomfortable, man.
I'm wondering, was it a solved Rubik's Cube or was it all messed up?
Yeah, I'm hoping messed up.
I think I was so messed up that I left the cube as solved. So that's
Easier
Bessie,
to
what
paint,
about you?
stripes and all.
For me, I really loved when I was in high school, like early years of high school, and all of my friends would get together and we'd go to the area of, not our direct area in Chicago, but then a little more north in the suburbs. And we would all go trick-or-treating where the huge houses were. And it was so much fun. We would always be like, oh, we're just on the edge of probably not being appropriate for us to go trick-or-treating, but we're going to do it because that's where they got the full-size candy bars. So much fun. Let's see the next question. Favorite scary movie?
I'm going to go with the one named Scary Movie. That thing just cracks me up. Totally spoofing all the scary movies.
Oh, who's next?
You, Matt.
Do
you have an
no,
idea?
Matt.
I'll go. Yeah, I would probably say mine would have been the former. Actually, the Scream series was hilarious and in its own right supposed to be scary, right? It was fantastic. But I guess that's dating myself too.
Fun. Well, I hate to even admit mine because I talk about dating yourself. Anybody remember a movie called The Changeling? Supposedly
No.
loosely associated based on some true story. Burial ground in Denver. Chessman Park and not Cheeseman Park. I thought that was great, but I feel really, really old saying that. So I'll throw out another one real quick. Young Frankenstein, the Mel Brooks.
Sure.
That was, Young Frankenstein. That was, Bessie, how about you?
It might surprise you to know that I hate being scared. I hate scary movies. But my friends will sometimes get together and it'll be like it's a community activity. So last year we got together and watched Insidious. And it definitely made us all jump. It was very scary, but it was fun. Let's see our next question. What is the weirdest Halloween decoration that you own?
All right, Halloween Rex has to go last.
I'm going to go last.
Or Halloween Matt. Halloween Matt has to go last on this one.
I'll be the weird one here. I don't have anything. This would probably be the weirdest because this is my first real Halloween costume in a very long time, or any Halloween accoutrements.
Here, I'll go. I've got some fun ones. These are these little sticky things you stick on the windows. That's pretty fun. Like, can you see the ghost and the skull? Yeah, it's just fun.
All right. I think we have some antique ghost, that you kind of hang from, the tree or something, and just kind of they're unique because they're just so old and antique-y. But I think Halloween, Matt, I can't wait to hear this.
Oh my gosh. So this is kind of weird. My stepmom, her first husband was an artist and taught art at the local community college, and so he had this skeleton. It was a real skeleton, from like the 1960s that the doctor's office used, right? They're all chained together. And I bought that house for my stepmom, and she called like the police when she was moving. She's like, "Hey, I got this human skeleton. Do I just throw it in the trash can or what?" And they never got back to her. So and when I moved in, I still have it. So I actually have a skeleton in my closet. That's the weirdest.
Oh my gosh.
Literal, not figurative. That's
yeah, I'm going to hear about that one forever, I think.
Oh, is there one more, I think? Let's see. Would you rather sleep in the basement of a real haunted house alone for one night, or sleep in a cemetery alone for one night? Ooh. I think for me, I definitely would go with cemetery. I hate being in the basement. It already scares me without it being haunted. Yeah.
Yeah. I think cemeteries are peaceful and beautiful, actually. I remember traveling in Europe and going to cemeteries to see the stonework. And just, they're like parks, just full of dead people,
Well, I'm going to go with basement, depending on what time of year it is, I guess. But I'm going to go with basement. I want to be in the house, in full effect.
Okay.
What do you think, Matt?
Oh,
can't hear you.
We're going bingo here. Muted.
Oh, it's so secret. He doesn't. He can't. Yeah. It's such a secret.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, my hardware crashed actually, so I tried to recover like gracefully, and then I failed and said graceful recovery. It's okay. It's all right. That's how we do
You're
things
smooth
here.
You're smooth.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
That's what being on live's all about.
blank, we'll do it live. Yeah, we're good. So, I said cemetery actually in my go for it. I think I probably would go for the same exact arguments both of you made, which is haunting notwithstanding. I'd rather be out in the park laying by a tree than in a damp basement of a house. So maybe weather dependent for Mr. Lee over there. But yeah, that'd be my very short answer to your question.
Well, thank you all for playing our game. We're going to get into the real cybersecurity information that you want to hear, and we're going to start by doing one-on-ones. So the two Matt Lees, you will be starting together. So, first we're doing the full company. My apologies.
Hey, we're back. It's live, right?
We're back live, and we're back in full color.
We're back in color.
And we're
It's like the Wizard of Oz.
I was always wondering how they lived back before we had color. That's amazing. It really let me simulate that. So I'm glad we invented color somewhere.
I'm like itching like crazy, man. How do you do this? Anyway, when my son was like maybe 3 or 4 years old, he said something and he's like, well, back in the black and white days. And
yeah,
it took me a minute to figure out what he meant. Like he really believed that the world had no color.
That's the story I'm referencing, actually.
I can see that.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Matt, one of the things I want to ask is we talk about, getting into it. What do you see? What's missing from our partners' security stacks?
Yeah, man, triggering question. What's missing from our security stacks? I think it really is the operations and the ability to deliver it, all of it. I think the challenge people think of when you look at CIS is not a vote for Halloween Mattlee up there, but it is, I suppose. But the point is when we think about like even looking at CIS, there's like something like 60% or so that are or administrative or procedural or some combination of procedural and administrative. And then the rest of it's going to be technical stuff that I can like set a setting or a configuration. A student in my class answered this really well today. He said, yeah, I think if it's human involved and procedurally, then it's going to be an administrative control. And if it's, a setting we can set, it's technical. And he said it pretty well there. So my point is, I think that MSPs often are believing there's some holy grail of a tool they can go grab that'll solve their world. It's like somehow having a jack stand solves having a flat tire. No, at the end of the day, some bloke sitting next to it, turning that handle and bringing the tire up enough so they can break the lug nuts off, or hopefully before they raise it, and then take the tire off, change it over to something else. And hopefully you're prepared enough to have a backup. So I think MSPs often think tools solve it instead of thinking of the ways that we have to solve this first and then going towards tools. That's the gap today, and it's operations and the ability to deliver it.
Great way of putting it. Absolutely.
And I get to have this resting serious face because I have like these glasses and the hat and stuff on. So it's like, man, I don't know. It's pretty fun. I'm enjoying this. This is good. I don't dress up often.
Yeah, I can't read your eyes for nothing right now.
You mean, sir?
I wanted to ask, and maybe not necessarily from a security perspective. I know we're kind of closing out Security Awareness Month, but
sure.
You're top of the list on people that travel a lot. I was actually kind of surprised to see you're in your house today, but just what are some of like the tricks, travel tricks? I've got a couple that I use, but I'm curious, either in airports or planes or in hotel rooms, what are some of the tricks that help you get by?
Oh man, I would say, and I know this is going to sound shocking, but extreme rigid adherence to what's in my bag, where it is, the things that I need that are going to make me successful. I would say that's probably, if I take something out, it must go back there. If I am about to do a pre-flight, it must all be there. I must have the passport in this front pocket. And maybe that's just a little OCD nature on my part. I would say that's probably the first piece, is that you need to know your gear when you're traveling. It's very valuable.
No, my wife teases me kind of for the same thing, right? Like my bag, the glasses are always in this spot.
Yeah.
The cell phone charger is right here, because when I'm on the plane, I need to be able to get it quick without digging.
And this cable's here, not up there. And exactly right. It's all about the positional aspect of it. So that's the first piece. If I gave any tips though, other than that, it would be flights early in the morning while a pain in the ass. That's one. I'm sorry, y'all. That's on me. While a pain in the butt are probably more likely to go off because the plane has gotten there earlier. It's not subject to some earlier flight to get there, and it'll either have been canceled before you go to the airport, or it will be known what your status is. So I'd say early flights are my favorite for that reason. And then from a hotel perspective,
hang on. I noticed that the 6 a.m. flights are always a good idea when you're booking them. Not such a good idea
when you're
no, that is extremely true.
That changes somehow. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I've gotten, that's one of the things I say maybe is you do something, anything in life. Let's go back to a cybersecurity analogy. When you do something so many times, you get to a state where it's not as insurmountable as when before you did it. Look at your world, Rex, when you talk about operations and all the things y'all teach at Academy. At some point, people get good at it, and then they adapt. And I would say that's for me what I would say is when I'm changing time zones, people complain about 2 time zone changes a year, right? Essentially when the daylight saving times and ends and begins. But I think 1 week I counted 9 time zone changes, right? And when you think about that you just have to get to a point where your body understands sleep. You have to try to live with this kind of status of how you feel and in general all the time. And I think if it wasn't so mission driven for me, and I know that's what allows this, I would not probably have adapted as well, and would have certainly caved before that 140 flight record year. That was about 2 years ago or last year. Anyways, but to the point of adaptation, I think it's anything. You can get good at anything if you continue to look at failure and get better at what you're good at. Like for me, when I have those 6 a.m.s, you're right, they look a lot easier when you book them. But if I can start at 4 a.m., my clock goes off. I know that I have a scheduled Uber ride at 4:40 a.m. and I arrive at the airport 1 hour before so that my heavy bag is accepted. And then I know that I can skirt through the line because if you have premier status in this one airport, you can get there at this time. You start getting to where you understand the data well enough that you can really thread the needle in so many of those airports. I know that sounds terrible, but yeah.
Oh, it's true.
It's tangential.
I've had the experience where you get to the airport and I kind of looked up at the flight board and I was like, I'm not even sure where I'm going. Like I just knew I had to be at the airport at that time. And I literally had to get out my phone. Like
I put it in my calendar. No, it dings. It goes ICT to MNP or MSP to DEN, or I have it in the top of my calendar every day. It has an alarm that comes up that gives me the data I need. 6:13 a.m. You need to be leaving to arrive at the airport with a 25-minute average drive. Like I do that much work on my own logistics to give myself that data because you're right, man. I'm lost all the time. I have no idea where I am.
I don't know.
When I was at Momentum, I got
assistant.
Yeah, when I was at Momentum, I got to use one of my favorites. You know how sometimes the blinds don't close all the way, and you got that crack of light shining in on you in the morning.
Yeah.
You know the trick to deal with those is the hangers
have a cockeye?
have the pants clips on them. You use the clips on the hanger to clip the blind shut. And I was like, I haven't got to use that one in a while, but
it's true. I just don't have that problem because if one eye's looking up, the other one's turned way off to the other side, and predominantly it's not the light in the eye, so I do all right.
Right on.
Well, Matt, I think we're going to each go into our one-on-one segments. So we'll have the two Matt Lees starting us off, and then we'll switch off so you get to talk to each one of us one-on-one.
That's awesome. Okay. So are you committed to this bit? Then
absolutely.
Rex?
Absolutely. So I wanted to start off with this American Family hack that's been going on. I know my son had a little bump with his car, and so we're trying to get it authorized, and we're calling for a week, calling American Family, and they're like, our computers are down. It was just we can't help you. Completely, we can't help you. Our computers are down. And then I found out a few days later that they'd had some sort of a cyber incident. I haven't heard very many details on it, but I guess it's two questions. What do you think of kind of almost a week of we can do nothing to help you from a customer service perspective, and any thoughts on what's going on behind the scenes over there?
Yeah, I think anytime you have a disruptive cyber event, whether it be because the systems themselves were impacted or whether it be because whether it be because the systems themselves are impacted or whether it be because they're in some type of containment function, right? If you look back on MGM, a lot of the efforts that they did were basically driven into trying to contain and not knowing what they needed to do to contain, and therefore maybe taking systems offline that wouldn't have been particularly impacted. So when it comes to your family insurance example, I don't know exactly what they're dealing with and why this is the case, but it being a cyber event, potentially, it gets into one of the things people don't often talk about these events is the actual impact it makes to the end humans, the end consumers, right? In your case, Rex, it's the inability to get a claim settled. What if you literally weren't able to get to work and you had to have that claim settled and you weren't even able to get your rental car assigned to you because you can't get through that conversation with someone because their systems are down? What does that do to you? What if you lose your job? What if that was that last straw, right? And I think those are some of the things that we don't often talk about in that scenario. So anyways, hope that partially answered your question. And so, yeah.
Yeah, have you heard what the heck was or what happened with him?
No, I actually haven't. I didn't dig much into this one. Dom and I haven't covered it yet, but I did read it initially when they responded. And actually, you know what? That's a great thing to bring up, Rex. One of the nice things about this, what is American Family Insurance, or what are most big companies we're hearing these releases about anyways? They're publicly traded companies. They're these big companies, right? They're now large entities. And we're now, ever since the SEC, so if anybody's not playing along at home, last year, the Security and Exchange Commission in March started proposing, saying, hey, maybe what we ought to do is have a reporting requirement for people to their shareholders when they have these incidents, right? And let's set that time frame. Let's try to say 4 days, blah, blah, blah. And I'm very summarizing. But if you continue forward, they actually did bring that into their practices. And now you're seeing companies file on their, I think it's an 8K form. They're filing and saying, hey, I had this incident. Why? Because they have to. because now we are changing the rules and capitalism is forcing them to. And you're actually already starting to see a hit to insurance, or not insurance, I wish, it's a different conversation. You're already starting to see a hit to stock prices, right? If you look at Okta's recent announcement for their own form that they've filed of their own recent compromise, you saw a share price drop that was just massive that first day. And you saw this impact to actual public belief, and that's what we want to see. That is what needs to happen to change this world, is have capitalism correct, because capitalism always corrects. And that's what we're starting to see, is that play out. And I think it's going to be even more brought upon with even recent news. If we saw with a recent, the SolarWinds incident is now actually come full circle.
I'm glad you brought up the SolarWinds. That was going to be my next question.
Well, good. Let's jump right into it. SolarWinds, the former CISO, is now being charged with fraud by the SEC. The SEC is using the Martha Stewart treatment.
That scared me.
Yeah.
Like I read that, and it really honestly scared me.
I got a text at like midnight last night from one of my good friends about this. And she said, Matt, this is terrifying but awesome, isn't it? And I said, yeah. She said, it's going to be really hard to get a CISO, isn't it? I said, yes or no. I'll refer you back to the way the Department of Justice has been solving this with their whistleblower program that uses the False Claims Act. There is an argument that I might take a CISO role, or someone might take a CISO role, find out the board is unwilling to move forward, find out that the things are in an abysmal state, find out they'd have to commit fraud to stay and say things are fine, and instead turn whistleblower, and instead bring in the lawsuits and bring in the Department of Justice and bring in those things that be, to not end up going to jail and winding up in that scenario, or maybe not going to jail. I think we haven't really seen that play out. If you look back at the Uber executive that was part of this, if you look back at the, you did have some jail time associated with the Unify situation. But here with Raw CISO being involved in SolarWinds, it's, I don't know, it's got mixed feelings for me. I think as a security professional, we know what we want to do, and those teams wanted to be successful. And oftentimes there are so many forces at play as why they failed. And it's not often in their capabilities to fix. Anyways, didn't mean Debbie Downer on Halloween here, but.
Well, it's kind of scary, right? But I was kind of reading between the lines too. A lot of it had to do with the way that they were kind of saying everything's okay when it wasn't. Right.
But that's pressured by the marketing department and the PR teams and executives on the board, and not the people that are actually saying whether we're okay. I think at the end of the day is my point.
The whole time I was reading that article on CRN, I was just thinking Matt-Lee, defensibility.
Oh, yeah.
Defensibility. That word was just echoing in my head,
Yep.
in your voice.
Build the case before you go to court, right? Build the understanding of what you actually are seeing and doing. Make the decisions. And it comes down to that reasonability discussion. Not Rex, right? That understanding of saying, am I being reasonable? Am I documenting that anybody else could have made a different choice given all these inputs? I think that's the challenge, is that, we need to start building that case for what we're doing. And at some point have enough integrity and understanding of the system by learning and educating yourself, and maybe taking academy courses and working with operations teams to show that defensibility, but also show where you're raising your own knowledge, right? If you follow the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you get to this point where you really feel confident, and then you get to this point where you have no idea what you're talking about, and there's so much more you have to learn. And I know that some of that actual theory has been disproved recently, but there are things in that are elements of truth, that as you learn more about a subject, you learn how much more you need to know. And it'll be those things you're being judged on, even though you may not be able to solve them. And that is what MSPs face every day with their clients. That is what MSPs face every day in their own organization. And that is what vendors face every day in their decisions too. And so we all are going to have to get better at a lot of these things. And a lot of these things that are changing are forcing that and enabling that in its own right. So.
Well, I'm going to hand it over to Bessie, but before I do, and I might throw Steve for a little bit of a loop here, but do we have a different side-by-side?
No. Oh, no.
He's fumbling. I'm sure Steve's going, what right now? But
there's
there
me.
We go. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
How about some?
I think mine looks better.
Voting in the chat here.
Look how luscious that one is on the right, y'all. No, it's me for sure. And that's before it got shaved. This is the new one. It came back with a new white stripe that I didn't have before. I don't know where that came from, but it didn't exist in that former beard we just showed.
Yeah, I
20 or
noticed
30
that. So
incidents.
that's why I was out in the garage with a can of white spray paint.
Pretty
and
nice of
trying
you,
to
buddy.
make
That's
things
really good.
happen.
You did a good job.
Yeah.
No, this is it might pass facial recognition. I think I have one keen thing that you don't, though, and it's really hard for you to fake. So at least I have some of that for identifiability.
There we go. All right, let's toss it over to Bessie for her couple of minutes with the cop.
See you, not Matt.
Hey, Matt.
What up, Bessie?
So
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I know. I'm just so lucky that I get to work with you so much in our different courses that we have. So, what do you mean?
I'm sure you feel lucky. I digress.
No, I
Continue.
do. I do feel lucky. That's not no air quotes there. So, can you tell us a little bit about the two courses that you teach and
Yeah.
why we built them?
Yeah, so I would say we is a very appropriate statement there, right, Bessie? Because I'm an engineer. I have been a practitioner. I've argued for things from a executive perspective to get things done in an organization, but I really have not been a teacher. And I think one of the things that's cool about getting to work with you has been your background in almost educating teachers, right? And teaching teachers to be teachers. And I would say my course and our course has definitely benefited from that. So what are the two courses I teach? One is applying CIS controls, and it really is this understanding of walking MSPs, hopefully through, in the guise of looking at controls, walking them through this understanding of how to build a security program. What are some of the biggest challenges? Giving them some tools, right, as you kind of taught me to do, of how I can actually walk through a business impact analysis. What is something I can do to track where my software should be for 2.1, right? And going through and teaching those from the lens of safeguards in CIS, or the Center for Internet Security safeguards from version 8. That one is great because when I first started teaching it, MSPs walked out, and I think they still hate me, but walked out hating me, going, Matt, there's so much more to do. You didn't solve anything for me. I actually just realized how broad this is and how much more there is to do. And you, Bessie, have gotten to kind of witness that in 6 or 7 of the class iterations. What are your thoughts on that in general? It's an interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, because we changed the name of it used to be called Security Foundations, and we changed the names, and we changed the names of quite a few of our courses so that they really reflect what you're going to be learning. So we went from Security Foundations, that was a very college lecture style course where you're just gonna, here you go, all the information, and not as much how can you apply it.
Right.
And so when we came together, we had it as applying CIS controls. But then there came the time that partners are saying, oh, I thought I can apply all these and it's all done. And I didn't realize all the work that's going to go into it. And so that's been a challenge too, is how do we explain and strike the balance so that partners know what they're getting themselves into when they sign up for class.
The coolest part for me, Bessie, has been the growth in this first class and how much we've iterated it over time, and how many we've gone to Miro, pulled back from Miro, added different things, and even recently added office hours, which does extend some of my time that's invested in the course by an extra couple of hours. But it gets me to get in and sit down and have some great conversations with some awesome students and some amazing humans. And it almost makes it to where people don't feel like they're missing something because they couldn't dig into an answer during class, and allows them to bring it back after class and let's have a conversation. Let's just converse about it a little deeper in a more private setting. So again, we keep moving and changing it. The second course that I'm involved with, thanks to you, is during that first course, people said, yeah, Matt, this is great, but how do we do policy? And how do we do procedure? And how do we deal with the compliance side of this? And I know that's half of my title, but it's not my favorite part of the world. In fact, to tell myself, I just got to present as a bucket list item with my friend Matt Topper, who helped me build Iconic's world and was the compliance arm of my security policy and security structure arm, right? And what we did from an operations or SecOps and design and engineering. Anyways, and so Matt and I got to present about how we did that as a yin and yang, and how we both did both halves, and very much in the same light. I actually brought in Sheldon Phillips, who is a good friend of mine that does live, eat, and breathe the policy aspects of this world. He's been in policy for about 10 years, and he's been a project manager, a technical project manager, for 45 years. In fact, he has a picture of him on a magazine holding a tape reel, right? The guy's been around a hot minute. Anyways, and so, yeah, so we partnered up.
We're really lucky to have him on the show this month. So
Oh, that's
some
right.
of
You
our
guys know
viewers have
Shell.
seen him
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
fair. I forgot Shell beat me to this show. That's all right. I'm not even hurt. It doesn't even bother me. I'm not even frustrated by it anymore.
Just push
Cool.
it off.
No, just easy. Totally, it's fine. Yeah, but so in this class, we actually do more of a workshop style where we work all in OneNote, and we walk through each person's critiquing them, kind of helping crowdsource and answer and get conversations about how do you write something that's supposed to be short but descriptive enough and keeping people's attention without hanging yourself with your own words, and how do you set this policy anchor so that the things that are done as procedures allow business operations to flourish and people to be successful, but not also miss out on the opportunity to be compliant and tie to things that are going to make us secure and risk adverse where we can be as a company. So yeah, fantastic second course. It's 2 days of pure joy, I imagine, for people. But yeah, we have good participation in both those classes.
I think it is. I think people love going to class with you, and I definitely our partners have said it over and over again. So I can't quite get out of it yet. But if you were to build, my last question, Matt, is if you were to build another course, or if there's more education topics that you think we should focus on at Pax8 Academy for cybersecurity, what do you think they should be?
I literally have a meeting about it later today. I'll be taking it from the car because I'm going to pick up my Jeep from Bodywork. Because what the trick is when you travel, people don't tell you have only like 20, 30, 40 days a year to get stuff done when you're home. So it's like, anyways, cramming it all together. But the course I'm pitching today is one on Lighthouse. One of the challenges and opportunities, I think, for MSPs or managed service providers is, what if you lived in a world where your clients were only on Azure AD, using SaaS software as a consumer, and things now could be very scripted and very automated? Well, how do you do that? Do I need the same tools? Do I still buy an RMM from the ConnectWise, Kaseya, whoever it may be out there, vendor? Or do I start using native tools? Do I start using the same things that threat actors are doing, which is living off the land and using native tools so I can secure them and look at them in one homogeneic plane? And so I think for me, Lighthouse is one of those where there's an opportunity for MSPs to learn about that and what its stages are and what it can use. And I think we have a unique opportunity to partner with Microsoft. I'll just shoot my shot and have the person that owns Lighthouse come be that person to do that show or that training with us. And maybe we make it evergreen, or maybe we make it something consistent. But yeah, just saved me half of a meeting, because I'm sure not Matt just got to hear that, so it's perfect.
You just press record. There we go.
Yeah,
Well,
it's all right.
it's always good to talk to you, and I'll talk to you a little bit later, but I'm going to pass it over to Chris now.
Matt.
Oh, man. Yes, sir. I'm sorry about putting you in jail like this, brother. It had
to
happen.
Orange brings out my blue eyes, so it's all good, right? You did me a favor.
Yeah.
Trust me.
No doubt.
One of the things I want to talk about is building communities. So my question is, the bad actors, let's just call it the bad guys, right? Okay, whatever, term, let's just say the bad guys. How organized are they? And how much collaboration do they have on that side, as the threat actors? How much do we have on the good side, on the good guys?
Yeah.
And how important is that collaboration and sharing of information and communities? How important is that in our response?
I'll tell you, we believe in it so much, right? Pax8's just recently signed on to be in CompTIA's ISAL, and we're part of that information sharing and analysis organization around this field and talking about just that. And so I think, I don't think we've said that, so that's nice. That's you've heard it here first, folks. But no, I think it is critical, and community is critical, and it's part of both sides. And I want to paint the picture. We often think like the threat actors are these, uncoordinated, non-information sharing, not tied together.
Isolated.
I think I want to make people think of it a little differently than that. This is significantly more of an ecosystem than it is a sharing or an organization. Right? These are, if you think about it, it's an economy in its own right. You have people that are information brokers. They simply just sell and buy the data that's stolen. You have information identity access thefts, people that do that initial identity access harvesting. Look at like Redline malware and some of the extensibilities, what threat actors do with that to extract usernames, passwords. You then get into people that test those usernames and credentials and do the initial access brokerage. They check and make sure that that's really Matt's credential and it's really the ability to get into my super secret beard paint, right? And so, because this isn't natural white, I paint this in just for effect. I want people to have humility for me or make me feel bad for me. No, I tease. But, I think there's so much of an ecosystem. There's even money laundering, right? One of the challenges that people are finding and threat actors are finding is that, yes, Bitcoin might be anonymous. Doesn't mean that anonymity can't be drawn back to a real human in real life. And we can bridge that gap of anonymity by the purchases and the egress of cash and how it's gone. And so they come into money laundering, right? Where there's people that have washing of funds that blend them all together and then try to hide the source of them. You have people that buy physical goods and sell them and do that as a method of washing it. There's actually money laundering for the threat actors on that side. So we want to try to make this demonetized and just one person that we can defend against. But if we really look at it, that we're defending against a milling economy. The United States economy, I think, grows something like 2.x% a year, right? GDP. We talk about China, the number 2 out there. They grow at 5.x a year. It's something like 5.6 or something. But you look at what is cybercrime growing. The report that came out early in this year that I referenced in some of my slides is the report for, I think, 15 point something percent. Like that's how much it's growing year over year, and it's already in the 3rd largest economy in the world. So we act like we're defending against this, against some nascent threat that's not very valuable or viable. But this isn't. This is a very well organized extraction of cash from the economies of the world. How do we deal with that? You had it right, Chris. We all have to be better. So many MSPs want to get up and go, my vendors, I want to know how you're dealing with your cybersecurity. I want to know that you're better, because in some way they hold them up on the shelf like they're better. But yet when you go look at it, they'd also make the same statement of my clients. I wish they'd be more secure. They don't want to listen to me. You know how many MSPs, when I bring up the conversation of CIS, think about themselves first? 0. And we all have this magical place where everybody in front of us is worse and everybody behind us is worse. I think, what is it? Carlin used to say, when you're driving, it's amazing you get anywhere because everybody in front of you that's going too slow is an idiot, and everybody that's driving too fast is an asshole. And with all these idiots and assholes on the road, how do you get anywhere? Right? And I think that's the way we look at cyber, as if it's everybody else's problem. But it's not. It's all of our problems. We all have to have humility. We all as a community have to come together. We all have to raise the defenses. We all have to be better. We all have to drive this to a higher level where we iterate and understand with humility that we suck at this and we have to get better. Myself, yourself, all of us included. That'd be my pitch as to what community means to solving this. I don't think we can do it without each other. It's interdependent.
Well, I think I like that humility, right? That just, hey, we can do more together if we're willing to kind of break down the walls and kind of share our challenges, right? And we don't have to put up a thing, oh, we're perfect, or we've got all the answers. Nobody does. And that's one thing I've always appreciated about your stage presence is that realness and that humility that you've carried. And I think that's critical for building.
I'm glad nobody can see me tearing up behind these sunglasses. This was a prudent move on y'all. Thank you, buddy.
This is. I'm gonna get a pair.
Yeah, smart move. They give them out to criminals, I think, in the pokey. You just got to trade 7 cigarettes for it. I think.
I got to negotiate. Maybe trade some bats.
Yeah.
You
can work it out.
Stage.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down that. Yeah.
Not very long bats with those handcuffs, though, right? You can only work.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's bring this before this conversation deteriorates. Let's bring the rest of the crew back.
Matt, we
Beard's
want
looking
to
a little better,
ask...
buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, we saw a video of you recently, and you were in a plane. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what it was before we show that video?
This is fun. I got a doppelmat. Yeah, so this came out of something, I'll start back. So about 5 years ago, I had an epiphany where I realized that I'm an introvert. I don't like to do things. I don't like to go out. I say no to most things when I'm invited. I feel like I'm excluded even though I've said no to most things. And I started wanting to just say yes. And it came out of a life plan that I did back then and basically started just saying yes to more. Like when I'm in the decision point, say yes. And so this came out of one of those moments. I was asked if I wanted to do a podcast and do a joint podcast because I already have my Beard Banter and my buddy was starting up his through his MSP, a guy by the name of Keith Bartold with DKB Innovative. And they were doing a podcast called In Flight. And this is in a 2-person experimental aircraft pulling upwards of 4 Gs to talk about cybersecurity and try to record it all. And so that's what this video was. This was me saying yes, and to many other things, it turned into glorious times. So this was terrifying and fun.
Let's take a look.
Government officials insist that this is an isolated incident. We will continue to inform you as this story.
In this one, this was scary. You're not wrong, but I want the other.
Yeah,
scary
that was on
one.
earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Today is the day. This is the day. I'm not even nervous, you know? Yeah, you're not? Not at all? Not at all? Maybe sometimes we're not in the plane yet.
I mean, you can touch the cloud if you just want to. If you're wanting to kiss the cloud, I'm gonna kiss this cloud right in the face. Just spun me around, bro. Start sweating. You know? Did like 4 rotations, then you're so happy.
You and I are both on a similar mission. We're both trying to solve a lot of the small to mid-sized businesses crises around cyber and IT and technology solutions, right? And we both want to teach and educate. And also both of us have started down this podcast and, video cast type of adventure. So, but I guess it's probably time for us to parachute up and go see if we can make Matt hurl while talking about cybersecurity. We'll do it. Yeah. Beard Banner meets DKB in flight. Well, this is fantastic. So yeah, if we have to use it, then we'll just invert. We'll eject the canvas, and you'll just flop out. We'll hug though, right? So that when parachute goes, hold hands all the way down. Okay. It's gonna be like Kim kissing, and it's great. This is kumbaya. All right, you ready? I'm ready, man. Let's do it. Yes.
Cramped up pretty good. Think so. You want me to clap? Are we doing it? I think. Yeah. Or clap. All right, let's roll, bro. We'll go ahead and taxi off. Yeah. I'll go ahead and let air traffic control know we're leaving. Yeah, thanks. We're heading out. Okay, we're good. Frank knows. And we're going. We're going to do it. That'd be an aircraft carrier takeoff. Yeah, where we get to see the whole line of the way. Just make sure the cable's down when taking off like this. Yeah. So your airspeed right now is what? 120 knots? 116, climbing. Yeah. Like, launching off the deck, you know what I mean? Yeah, I love it. We only have about a 10-foot rise here. Woo! Oh, to use the 3 HG. That's so cool. All right. So, we're parachute up. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say that. I'm a cyber guy, man. I always think about the failure. I such something. Yeah, that's I gotta be honest with you. Pull that to here. Yep. Yes. I think we're holding all the way over into the loop. Steve. And here we go back. And then we're going back to the ground. We're in altitude. Yeah, that's awesome. Wing over into here. Get going away from the airport. Yeah, that's where you just start to get a little bit back to that positional awareness, right? So oriented now, see? Yeah, that's awesome. How you feeling? I'm great. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy this. That's the real problem. So I think the biggest thing isn't really the dizziness. I'm starting to feel warm. Oh, that's so cool.
Wow.
It was a blast.
Kudos to you.
That's like
as
bucket
well.
list right there.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, go ahead, Rex.
Did he let you fly it at all?
Yeah, I flew. So I actually flew 2 Aileron Rolls, right? So drop the nose till you get to 142 or so airspeed, pull up to 15 degrees. Once you get to 15 degrees, hard right, and we're good. What's funny is I actually, the first time I was doing it, I didn't give it hard enough right to go to the roll. And if it's done properly, you wind up in a 1G maneuver, meaning like you could pour coffee in a cup, and even though you're rolling over, it would still maintain that same pouring arc as you continued around, right? Like it's really neat. And so if done properly, but the problem was nobody tells you that airplane is not made for people that are of my, let's just say, stature and size. Girth might be appropriate even. And the challenge is I couldn't push my knee far enough over to the right to get enough stick space. And so he had to jam the stick a little further to give me a little more. And so the second time I did it with more gusto and was able to hit into my leg, my thigh enough, basically to give it enough stick to the right to roll over at the top. But yeah, it was a blast.
Wow.
And I genuinely told him he had probably cost me $200,000 because Kat and I are now taking our pilot's licenses next year, and we're going to hopefully buy a plane and start doing more travel in private plane.
Oh my gosh, so cool.
It's a real problem. And also, we now know how we're both going to die pretty empirically, so that's a positive, right? Like you don't have to wonder.
The time I went skydiving, I was sitting in the front with my back toward the front of the plane, but the pilot's shoulder is right here, and I had to like pull this shoulder in so he could close the door. So
my gosh.
That's
how it felt. Yes.
Like this.
Yeah. If you notice in the whole video, I'm like doing this and I can't figure out where to place my arms. So I just hang them on the straps in the parachutes. And I'm just like, well, that's the only place I can fold up enough. Like, okay, I'm in. We're not. And when he said you're just going to plop out, I don't think he had considered that, like, spam coming out of a can takes a minute, right? Because it's like against all. Yeah, like that's my thought of what really would have happened probably in an ejection situation.
That's fantastic.
I was thinking of that peanut can and the snakes jumping out. Like that's what I was thinking. Like,
no, this could be more.
It wasn't.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, y'all. We've delved off.
That looked like a ton of fun.
Bessie, do you have a question here, Bessie? You can pull us back.
I think, well, Matt, you're our last guest for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So I want to bring it back to that and reflect on this month for yourself. What were some of the highlights and what are some of the key takeaways you want to share with partners?
I'll stick with being the anti-theorist here. I hate having a Cybersecurity Awareness Month because it's just so broken to believe that we can. Yeah, it's just so broken to believe that we could do anything for 1 month. And
I made a comment the other day. It's like, okay, Cybersecurity Month is almost over. We're gonna have to wait till tomorrow so we can click on those emails again.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. But joking aside, I think reflecting back on this month, we actually have seen, in my opinion, a significantly higher awareness in general as a base level across the world. Like we're starting to see over the last 2 years, just this precipitous increase in people understanding there's something to do here. We need to deal with this. If you were to ask the same thing, and I'll do it in kind of semi-empirical fashion, I got accidentally asked to do a How I Would Hack You presentation with Jason Slagle and Tom Lawrence at a CompTIA event about 2 years ago. And it was because the guy that was doing the presentation got stuck in a flight and didn't make it. And they go, hey, in 20 minutes, can y'all put together a presentation of how you'd hack an MSP? And we're like, yep. And we did. And we asked people in that first one, there was about 50 people or so in the class. And we said, and in the speech, we said, how many of you have conditional access turned on all of your systems and all of your tools that you use? You have MFA in place. And we asked people to raise their hand. About probably 4 people raised their hand out of that 60. So 4/60ths, give or take. You can do the math. But ultimately, we then the next year did it at IT Nation Connect, and Connect, and that was last year. And we had more. We had about 170 people, so we had more people attending the conversation, which is even better. And then we had more people raise their hand that they were doing it. And up to this last year that we did it, and we're about to do it again, people were raising their hand. Yes, we're doing those, and now we're doing FIDO tokens. We're doing more secure things, and so you had a higher breadth. Now we're closer to 60 and 70% are raising their hand. And so I just have faith. I just have belief that we're hitting a critical mass of understanding, and that not just at the human level, but as a general society, we know we have to fix this. We have national cybersecurity strategy out that's been honed on. We've had major events that are in the public eye. I just feel like this month has been one where we all came together and said, let's deal with it. We had a huge number of Pax8ers playing in the CTF. We had tons of participation. We focused all of studio's time on it for 4 weeks. We brought it into every show. We talked about it with tons of guests. I don't know. Maybe color me optimistic one day a year, but maybe this is that day, reflecting back on this month and seeing the growth year over year, and how much it's part of every day's conversation.
It's a beautiful thing. Let's hope we can keep the momentum, right? And like Halloween Matt said, that it's not, overdone. It's, next thing. I hope it becomes ingrained in part of our conversations and culture.
We don't have good paperwork. Well, we don't have good paperwork operations month, right? Like at some point, this has to be endemic in what we do as a business, right? So anyway, sorry, I digress.
100%. Well, Matt, it's great to have you on the show.
I'd like to toast Matt to Cyber Awareness Month, and I'm really hoping that we carry it out through the whole year. Really, it should be Cybersecurity Awareness Year for sure.
Nice commitment to the bit there, brother.
Yeah. I think I want to bring on the quote. We were so excited to talk to Matt. I don't think we ever got to our quote. So if we can bring that up. Tim Burton, we all love his movies, right? Every day is Halloween, isn't it? For some of us, right? So, what do you think? I think there's kind of a scary twist with what's going on with cybersecurity, but at the same time, today's a good day.
100%.
I agree. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Well, I think it goes right back to what we were just saying. Every day is Halloween, right? Think about cybersecurity every day, and we'll all be more successful for it. So thank y'all for having me.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Well, I'm super happy to be wrapping up Cybersecurity Month because next month in November, I think we're going to be talking about a lot of financial activity, doing your budget planning. We're having some benchmarking specialist, Peter, from Service Leadership is going to be on. So I'm looking forward to November and looking forward to getting through tonight. So it should be fun. What do you think, Chris?
What you guys, Matt and Matt today, it feels weird to say that, said about this kind of being, it's unfortunate, but I think if you take a positive spin, the last, several weeks, I think have been great.
Was a positive spin reference to the plane spinning? I'm not sure.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I like that. If only I was that clever, Matt. But I think it was very powerful to me to focus on these messages. What we talked about this month, I think, was very, very valuable. It just felt very poignant and meaningful. So I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this. Bessie?
Yeah, I also agree. I think there's just this month we learned there's so much we don't know. We have to humble ourselves. Not everyone is going to be a 10 out of 10 expert in cybersecurity. Even our experts are saying that too. And so we want to make sure that, we are always learning and always taking advantage of these opportunities to learn. So that's my biggest takeaway. So I want to just say thank you, everyone, for watching. Be sure to check us out next week. Our guest will be Chris Brown, talking about tips for MSPs to understand their finances. And we'll have an SME or subject matter expert segment from our guest, Adam Hanneman, Getting Your Finances in Order. It's a course that he teaches. So I can't wait to have him on. Remember, we are live every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Mountain and on demand always. Don't forget to subscribe and like us on our YouTube channel. Chris or Rex?
I'm hoping you picked up a good nugget today and it makes you think about what are you going to do differently tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.